Hi, welcome to the Agunah Monologues, where you will hear the stories of people who have survived get abuse. This story is being read by Amy Muscoplat. Disclaimer: details have been changed. The views and opinions expressed in this story are those of the storyteller and do not necessarily reflect the views, values, or beliefs of Get Jewish Divorce Justice. Warning: this story may include descriptions of domestic control and abuse, and explicit details that are not suitable for sensitive listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
My story is a series of absolute miracles. I never thought I'd receive my get, and I pretty much stopped trying to force the issue. I figured that if it was meant to happen, it would happen. When we separated, I did two things simultaneously. One, I went to court and filed divorce papers. Two, I asked my ex for the get. My ex had no interest in doing anything regarding the get, and he especially didn't want to cooperate with anything I requested. He didn't actively refuse, his style was more passive. He simply didn't respond to any requests on the matter, and he ignored written communications about it. If I approached him directly, he delayed and distracted me until I let it go. When it came to the civil divorce, he was very on top of it. Details mattered to him. For example, he told the judge I was a flight risk because I would probably leave and go back to Israel the first chance I got. They took away my daughter's passport and retained it so I wouldn't be able to, quote, vanish with her. This upset me at the time, but it was actually for the best, as I later discovered. Once we started the divorce process in court, I think my ex's get refusal probably played in my favor. His refusal to facilitate the get process gave the judge a clear picture of his character. Quote from the judge: "This does not seem to require any effort on his part beyond showing up." The judge noticed this. They could see that he was controlling, stubborn, and was not going to comply with anything that may bring me joy, unless he was forced to. Get refusal is considered coercive control in California, and coercive control has legal consequences that affect the outcomes of the divorce agreements. When we were finally wording our divorce agreement in court, I asked the judge to add a stipulation about giving me the get, but the judge said church and state have to remain separate, and on top of that, how would the secular court enforce the matter? During this back and forth about the wording of the agreement, I also called the Bais Din closest to me and asked the rabbis there, "What can I do to resolve the matter of the get?" "You'll have to come down here when you're both in agreement and open a case with us. It will cost you $800 to file." The Bais Din closest to me is a 3-hour drive from where I live. "What if he never agrees to give me a get?" I asked. "Talk to your local Chabad rabbi," they suggested. So I did. I called the relatively local Chabad rabbi and asked him to help me get my ex to the Bais Din. He took down my ex's number and some details, and then he never called me back with an update. I have no idea if he ever did anything or not. I simply never heard back from him. I CC'd my ex on all my interactions regarding the get so he'd have all the information too. Just in case he ever decided it was important to him, he had everything he needed to proceed right there at his fingertips. I spoke to a friend who'd been waiting many, many years for her get, while her ex, he got remarried. She told me about Esther Macner. She said Esther managed to help her with her get, so I contacted Esther Macner and told her my story. Esther took down all the details, and after that, she started calling me every month. Esther suggested that we start by getting a chiyuv get for my ex so that the Bais Din will be easier to mobilize. Also, it would provide me with proof that my ex is refusing to give me my get. This is useful for legal purposes, to legally prove that he's engaging in coercive control. It is also necessary to have in order to file a case for get refusal in Israel. You need proof that he's actually refusing to sign a get for a span of over 4 months to file for get abuse at the Rabbanut. Esther said she thinks the only way to get him to give me a get is to catch him in Israel, so it was crucial for me to have the proof I needed to open a case there. Once the case was opened, he would be considered a get refuser in Israel, and they could proceed from there. The idea that we would force his hand by using the Israeli rabbinical court system was a long shot. He literally detained me because he claimed that I wished to go to Israel, and he did not. So why would he suddenly want to go to Israel? But I figured it was worth filing the paperwork just in case. Esther referred me to the International Bais Din. They sent him a hazmonah, a summons which he ignored. They sent the requisite amount of hazmonot. Then they held the hearing without him, and they ruled that he has a chiyuv get, an obligation to give me a get. Next, Esther gave me the names of some organizations in Israel that help agunot, and I contacted Yad L'Isha and sent over the chiyuv get documents and other paperwork. Esther called me over and over. She kept contacting me at least once a month. No? Is he going to Israel? Any news? Any new developments? She stayed in contact with me for 4 years. Why didn't my ex want to sign the get? And why didn't I try harder, get more people involved? My ex is not religious at all, and giving the get simply held no value for him. Every time I brought it up, his attitude was, "What's the big deal? What's your problem? Why is this even an issue? Like I don't have enough on my plate?" Say, have you met someone? Are you going to get remarried now? No, but it's still important. Religiously, also I'd like the closure. Somehow, it always got pushed off, delayed, relegated to the end of the list of all the other unpleasant tasks we needed to collaborate on. And then, I kind of gave up. I stopped imagining relationships and got consumed by the daily realities of life and single motherhood. Everything was working smoothly, especially with my ex. We had settled into a comfortable routine with the co-parenting, and the court rulings were keeping everything in place. I was content to let my life coast along and never confront any more chaos and upheaval ever again. It had been so many years since anyone had displayed any interest in me. My attitude about romance was, well, if Hashem wants me to move on, then He will make it happen. I didn't take any steps to actively pursue another relationship. I started to believe it was impossible. In the back of my mind, my thinking was, when I want to get remarried, the get issue will become relevant and I'll try to push again. I've already done my share. I did my hishtadlut. I'm leaving this up to Hashem because I have no way of moving the get forward right now. Life made it easy to procrastinate on it. I didn't have the energy to open that can of worms. Every Rosh Chodesh, I received Esther's list with all the agunot who received their get or who were freed by the other means. And I dreamed of having my name up there. 7 years later, my ex finally went to visit Israel. At that point, I didn't even tell my family that my ex would be in Israel. That's how comfortable and complacent I had become about my life and situation. After I gave the matter some thought, I called Esther Macner and the Towenet in Israel who was on my case all those years. Esther encouraged me to get the ball rolling in Israel, but I wasn't fully ready to do so. I was worried about how it would affect our co-parenting situation. Also, would I need to go to Israel as well? That seemed like a very big undertaking, both financially and in terms of the hassle. It was hard to muster up the necessary energy. I wasn't able to reach my Towenet Ravanit. I did my piece, I shrugged, and I left it at that. But Hashem had other ideas. I was spending Pesach in the Bay Area, and I was going to be there for 4 days, including Shabbat, eating all my meals at Rabbi Blishem. After one of the meals, Rabbi Blishem took me aside and told me he'd love me to formally meet one of the men who had been there. He's interested in getting to know you better, he said, now that he was able to observe you at the meal. Cool, yes, I'd love to go out, just for coffee, right? I said, a little flummoxed, and not fully thinking it through. The guy showed up at the rabbi's house right after Shabbat, and I panicked. Wait a minute, I said. I don't know, and am I even allowed to go out for coffee, since the relationship is not going to go anywhere? I am an Agunah. Technically, I'm still married. The rabbi was shocked, speechless. He had no idea. He encouraged me to take care of my get as soon as possible. I told him that my ex is in Israel, and he said, "Are you kidding? Now, immediately, go, do it." Everything kind of stacked up miraculously. I called my brother in Israel and gave him an update. When he heard that my ex is in Israel and I can't reach the Towenet, he went to the Bais Din himself. I sent him a declaration that I agree to have him represent me. I hand-wrote it and emailed it to him. They'll issue an ikuv yetzia, a stay of exit, he said. I don't know, I said. That sounds like so much drama. My brother tried to allay my concerns. There may not be another opportunity, he said. He hasn't come here in 10 years. It's a miracle he decided to visit now. Rabbi Blishem followed up too, and he motivated me to go ahead with this course of action. If he doesn't give you a get, He's considered a rasha. Use any means necessary to get it signed. Even then, I still felt some resistance at taking the leap and actually forcing his hand using the Israeli authorities. I knew that detaining him in Israel was not going to make him a happy man, to say the least, and I much prefer him to be a happy man when I need to engage with him regarding our child. If I am repeating this, it's because I had so much resistance to doing anything that would throw my life back into chaos and conflict mode. It was so nice to be out of that. Between my brother and the whole situation with the dating and the rabbi I was staying with, I was able to let go of my ideas of maintaining control over my ex-husband's emotional state and leave his reaction up to Hashem. I gave the green light. It was like a witching hour, an Eitzrat zone. Once I agreed to go forward with this course of action, the gears kind of started turning without any more effort from me. My brother stood before Bais Din and testified that I am a victim of get refusal. We had the paperwork to show that my ex had actually refused to engage with the Bais Din, and I had been waiting 7 years for my get. Now the get refuser is coming to Israel, my brother told them. He filled out a bunch of paperwork. He also had to go back the next day to pay the fees, filing fee, application fee, and court fees. Altogether, it cost about 700 shekel. Then they issued a stay of exit for my ex on the spot. The stay of exit applies for 30 days, and we discovered that I must notify him that it got filed. That stressed me out again, but Hashem had my back. The Rabbanut notified him. I don't remember why, but it took that burden off of me. I really don't like conflict. My ex got really nervous about being stuck in Israel for a prolonged stay. He immediately hired a Tohen Rabbani and wanted to sign a get on the spot so he wouldn't be kept in Israel for too long. My brother delayed scheduling the get signing ceremony. Maybe my sister has some conditions. She might want to discuss receiving the amount she's entitled to in case of divorce that was detailed in her ketubah. I want to make sure she's properly treated by this man. The rabbis told my brother I am not entitled to support based on my ketubah at this point. I'd be able to file later, after the get ceremony. They scheduled the hearing. Next step. They told me I needed to be present at the hearing in Beersheba. I needed to present a compelling reason to organize a get shlichut, which is a get given long distance without me. Hashem had created the solution way before this problem. Remember how my ex worked so hard to make sure I could never leave the country because he claimed there was a risk that I would take my daughter with me? Well, guess who didn't have her passport? I wrote to the Beit Din and explained that my ex was withholding my daughter's passport and so forth. They immediately ruled that they'll be giving me the get long distance and they'll proceed in my absence. That night, my daughter woke me up at 4 a.m. My phone was on silent and the Beit Din were trying to reach me. When they didn't get through, my ex tried calling and I didn't pick up either. My ex finally called my daughter on the iPad he gave her before he left for his trip, so he could communicate with her while he was away. He woke her up and told her to get me. "Mom, they need you," she said. "Hello?" I was groggy. "Hello? Ma'am. Yes. Can you hear me?" "Yes." "Good. We'd like to give you your get." "Okay, great." I sat up in bed. "Where should we send it to?" I had them send it to Rabbi Avi Leibovitz, who is a Masader Gittin in the Bay Area. They sent it to him by certified mail. "You will call us when you are finished with the ceremony and we will let your husband go. He will be stuck here until then." About my ketubah, will I ever be able to receive the compensations that I am entitled to? Today we are only dealing with the matter of the get. You need to come here and schedule another hearing to discuss other things, like monetary compensation as detailed in your ketubah. Now, do you want the get or not? It took 2 weeks for the get to arrive. Rabbi Leibovitz called me on a Friday when he got it in the mail, and it was hard for me to even think about rushing over to pick it up. It's a very long drive for me. When he heard the hesitation in my voice, he said, "It's fine, don't worry. Why don't we schedule for Sunday? He delayed the get for 7 years. He can wait another day or two." That Sunday, I drove all the way over to Rabbi Leibovitz. When I was very close, Rabbi Leibovitz called me. "Think I saw your car. You made a wrong turn." It was a miracle that he saw me just then and called me so quickly. A police officer flagged me down. I was not expecting the experience of receiving the get to be pleasant. I was grumpy from the drive and the emotional tension, and I thought, great, my bad day has just gotten worse. But the policeman was so nice. "Are you okay? I noticed you turned the wrong way and assumed you're not local, so I'm just making sure you're safe and able to get to your destination." It felt like another miracle. Rabbi Leibovitz made the process as smooth and pleasant as possible. I received my get with 2 kosher witnesses. I took it, went to the door, came back, etc. And then he very ceremoniously and solemnly informed me that I am now free. It felt like a series of miracles. All of a sudden, within the space of a month, I had my get. When Hashem wills it, it happens in the blink of an eye. And listen to this. After I left Rabbi Leibovitz's, I went to get kosher food. And guess who walked into the same establishment? The guy that Rabbi Blisham tried to set me up with. What are the odds? We kind of nodded awkwardly at each other, but as I was leaving, I decided to say a more formal hello, good to see you. Did the relationship work out? No, it did not. It ended up not being relevant on his end, which is fine. It's all for the best. However, it was like Hashem was sending me a little sign. I have orchestrated everything for you. Remember this guy who was the catalyst for getting you to pursue the get again? It was all part of a plan. Rabbi Leibovitz sent the forms to Beersheba, and they called to get me to verbally declare that they can remove the stay of exit. Unfortunately, once the stay of exit was removed, the situation in Israel got worse, and there were no flights for a while. After that was resolved, my ex finally returned from his unexpectedly extended visit to Israel. He's very mad and has not spoken to me since. He does not respond to any communications unless it involves our child and is absolutely critical. If any issues come up, I just follow the protocol set by the court since I can't reach him to confirm. My daughter is very mature for her age, and when she sees me trying to engage, she sighs and says, "Mom, just give it up. He's still mad at you." So that definitely affected the state of our co-parenting. I missed the way it was working before he went to Israel, the somewhat functional and more mature co-parenting we managed to settle into. I have no regrets, though. I am not responsible for how my ex chooses to feel about the consequences of his own actions and how he chooses to react to mine. I did everything right, and he can choose how he wishes to respond. He is entitled to feel however he wishes to feel. He had every opportunity to sign the get amicably, but he didn't. Sometimes, when you don't do things the easy way, you will need to do them the hard way. I am sorry for that, but I could not make him choose which way the get will play out. If he didn't want the hard way, he should have chosen the easy way. The month after I had my get, Esther Macner sent out her newsletter, and there was my name. I was so touched to see it there, my eyes teared up. My message to other Agunot is this. When I did my research and spoke to all the organizations that help Agunot from Israel, their services did cost a certain amount, and they needed me to go to the Israeli consulate to sign for power of attorney, to allow their lawyers to handle ongoing legal matters regarding the get. This is financially and technically challenging. Just thinking about getting an appointment at the consulate and driving all the way out there and can create delays in receiving your get. I called Esther Macner to tell her what my brother did. She and I spoke to my lawyer from the Israeli organization, who confirmed that if someone can personally go to Bais Din for you, all you need is a written and signed paper for power of attorney and payment for the court fees. No consulate, no payments to the Agunah organization, nothing. It is so much simpler and less costly. Great news. I'm happy to share it here. I hope this information is helpful. My other message is this. Through the years, and definitely through the whole process of the get, I felt Hashem's intervention so clearly. He never forgets anyone. He believes in me and is providing me with a second chance at a relationship. I didn't believe I'd ever receive my get, but I did. Hold out for that get and don't lose hope. Here's a virtual hug and another one. Seriously, life can get better. Just hang in there.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. If you or anyone you know is struggling to receive your get, call Esther Macner at 3-107-305-282 or email her at info@getjewishdivorce.org. Strictly confidential. Esther Macner is the founder of Get Jewish Divorce Justice, which is a non-profit organization based in Los Angeles, dedicated to the prevention of abuse in the Jewish divorce process, using legal and halachic strategies to help navigate get refusal in both the Bais Din and the court systems. Services are free and donations are welcome.